pledge allegiance to
This is
the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America,
of
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're seeing a little more importance somehow this week. And, propose that we, what do I propose? Okay. We should, do something there. Jenna, what did I say I thought we ought to do next?
You said you were going to move the election of officers up to before correspondence.
Let's do that.
I hereby move to do that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda to move item 6A up to the next place, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Okay, so the election, we have an election every January for a chair and a clerk. Those are the two positions that we have. Mr. Cosgrove served for the last 2 years, and then beat it for Miami, Connecticut, and he's gone. So we are in the void here, and it's the senior member of the commission for this point. I'd like to get this item done, and then we can move on with a new chair. So we're electing a chairperson for the next 12 months. And does anyone want to make a nomination?
I nominate Jenna.
I'd like to second the nomination.
No, there you go. It's been moved and seconded to Jenna Caulfield for chair of this commission. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I move that nominations be closed. All those in favor of the election of Jenna Caulfield, please say aye.
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 The next year, that's done. Might as well just finish with the next one, Jenna. That's the clerk. Does anybody want to nominate Terry Fogarty for that position?
I nominate Terry Fogarty.
And I'll second that nomination.
All right. All those in favor of Terry for clerk, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations to the two of you. It's going to be a good year.
Congratulations.
Woo!
Jenna.
All right. In that case, I take us to item 3 on the agenda, correspondence. Terry, if you could help us out.
Love to. Resident to Officer Russell. The resident complimented Officer Russell for his kindness and professionalism while assisting him during a traffic stop in a downpour. From a resident to Animal Control Officer Rudowitz. The resident's dog ran away and ACO Rudowitz was able to return the dog back to his owners. They were very grateful for his kindness and for making a scary day brighter. From a resident to PFC Britell and Officer Johnson. The officers responded to a call for a mental health emergency for the resident's son. They were able to take control of a dangerous situation and calm the son. The family was appreciative for their professionalism and for the assistance so their son could get the help he needed. From a resident to PFC Gualducci and PFC Harrington. The resident was in a motor vehicle accident and wanted to express her gratitude for the officer's kindness. From a resident to PFC Gray. The resident's daughter was in a motor vehicle accident in which PFC Gray responded. She was stressed over the accident, however. PFC Gray was able to de-escalate her stress level. I will always remember PFC Gray's impact on my family that evening. From a resident, Officer Arnold, PFC Buonacani. A resident found her neighbor deceased in her house. The responding officers were a tremendous help. I just wanted to let you know that they are out there doing it right. From a resident to Detective Devon. The kindness and compassion you showed to my family last year will never be forgotten. And the last one, from a resident to Officer Cruz. Officer Cruz responded to a person locked out of her vehicle. He was able to gain entry into the vehicle. Because of his prompt assistance, the resident was able to be on time to care for a client. And that is the end of the letters.
Thank you, Terry. Do we have any comments from a public audience? I don't know of any, but I was just approved as chair, so.
So the town clerk did not forward any on to me, so I'm assuming that we do not have any.
Okay. Moving on to the approval of the December 7th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
Yes.
If so, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes, and we approve the minutes for the December 7th, 2020 regular meeting. Now moving on to item 6, the old business, the fiscal budget for 22. Are y'all ready for it?
Yeah.
At our last meeting, we discussed the budget. We are going to be presenting it to the Board of Selectmen after this. So comments, questions, concerns?
Looking at the chief's email that he sent out last week,
Yes.
where he gave a description of the staffing changes and the reasons for the staffing changes. I think the other issue of the training, I think, is very well spelled out, and why we need to do things that the chief has laid out. I think his biggest challenge is going to be the renovation, because there's just no room in that building. But I don't have any concerns with the budget. I maybe have some concerns as we go to the Board of Selectmen and whether or not we're able to convince them based on the chief's input and our concurrence with the chief's input.
And so my question is, do we have any inkling on how this is going to go? Terry, you alluded to the fact that the renovation may not make it through, but are we in jeopardy of losing, say, the vehicles or the signage? And so does that mean we need to prioritize as opposed to asking for the entire kit and caboodle? Something of that nature.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah. So as far as the renovation goes, no, I don't think we need to prioritize any more than possibly the suggestion of staffing, and then the training, and then the renovations being the third. In sort of the big picture, it's a small project. It's a large project to us because, as Terry indicated, we have very, very limited space here. A quick preliminary look, though, by the building inspector and looking at the blueprints for down here, it's possible we could do this. We would be looking at much smaller office spaces to get this done, but I do think that we'll get some better answers within the next couple of weeks in speaking with those who manage the space down here, Public Works, as well as potentially reaching out then to a company to give us some quick ideas on whether we're going to be able to fit 3 offices in a given area and then 3 offices in another given area. But as far as prioritizing, I think that my recommendation anyways would be the same as what I was able to communicate as far as those things in order. Moving on to a slightly different thing, I can talk about the two topics that changed in the budget. So last month and the month before, the commission approved the budget proposals that were brought before you, but there were 2 changes.
If I may just jump in for just a second, I think it's important to note, Terry, that on the renovation, the space that's being created is an office space. It's not something that's unique to the police department. It's something that will be in the building and will be available for the building use, whatever it may turn into. At some point, we are going to be faced with having to get out of that building, because right now you cannot really legitimately claim it's a first-class police station. It has lacks in a number of things, and particularly if we, in our quest to have a diverse workforce, if we end up with more women, for instance, the locker room for women is simply insufficient, not big enough. A place for keeping of evidence. We don't really have a place to keep evidence safely in the bonded type area. As I understand it, Chief, in the so-called Sally Port, which is really a high-class garage, ours is not a really high-class garage because, for examining an automobile that's been confiscated because of its alleged use in a crime, and it's in to be gone over in detail in a space. That space is really a push to even get that done in. I mean, you can't open the doors, I understand, on both sides of the car at the same time without hitting the walls or something else in that space. And so, realistically, if the selectmen look anywhere near deeply into their crystal ball, certainly within the next decade, and probably a lot sooner than that, we are going to need a new police station in this town. And so that office will be useful for somebody. It's not the space that cannot be used by other departments. So I think we need to look at it in that light. I think, Chief, if I'm right, and I think that the town ought to know that we keep growing like we're growing. We need that space, and we need it desperately, and not just the office now, but we're going to need space later to have a truly functioning police headquarters. So let's bear that in the back of our minds as we go into this thing. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up the time. It's the other things I think that are critical. The training, staffing, and then the training of the staff are absolutely critical items. And I think what and I don't mean to run off with the jaw here, but I think what I kind of proposed is important that we have Jenna do the overall introduction of the subject and the three areas to the selectmen in sort of high level terms, and then let Nick get into the detail on them. And the further they want to get into the detail, the more we'll get there. But Nick is I think probably and certainly is the best one to be able to do that quickly. Because I don't know how much time they're going to allow us tonight. Now, they're being very generous for allowing us to meet with them. So I think we got to make the best of our time. And let's figure we don't have any more than, say, 20 minutes or at most a half hour. So we need to, can you let Tanisha in? She's at the door. She's trying to get into the building right now. So can somebody let her in? Kelsey or the chief, or do you have somebody that can go to the door and let her in?
She's actually trying to get into the. Oh no, there she is.
She's here. Hi, Tanisha.
Hey.
Welcome.
You're muted.
Thank you. Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. They literally just appointed me like 2 minutes ago.
Congratulations.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh,
Very efficient.
yeah. So that's the portal I was talking about. Not the back door,
Yeah.
So welcome aboard.
Thanks.
I think we'll proceed from there.
Well, with regard to the budget, I will present our three main areas, and then if they have any questions or concerns, we'll be there to address them and hopefully persuade them that our budget is fiscally responsible. It's not pie in the sky, and we are asking for what we need. It's not aspirational.
Okay, I think that's good. And Travis, to answer your question from a 10,000-foot perspective, there's already griping amongst some select members about the fact that everybody wants more money this year, and there is no more money this year. So they're going to be looking for money wherever they can find it, including their own proposals about purchasing more open space in town for something like $2 million and some other items. So I think this is a good opportunity for us under the MOU they signed to get our information into them quickly first, actually, as to what we need and what we think is important for public safety. If they disagree, then they disagree. But we'll have made our point, I think, and that's the important thing.
Concur. Excellent.
I'm sorry, we may have to end up in that kind of an idiot's game, but pencil here, pencil there. What are you going to shake for what? But I think right now, I've always looked at these, and I look at this one the same way. This is it. This is what we think is necessary. We don't have any games to play here that I know of. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'll keep my mouth shut from now on.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
The next item is the body worn and dashboard camera policy. We had amended it to change adopted to implemented. Did everyone have a chance to review that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions, concerns, thoughts? Any?
I did not make any annotations to the documents.
Okay.
That's her first. Oh, no.
Yeah, it is.
Terry's got the best annotations. Well, in that case, do I need to entertain a motion to approve this? Or did we approve it last time? I don't recall.
I don't believe it was formally approved the last time.
In that case, I will entertain a motion to approve the department issued body worn and dashboard camera policy.
I will make such a movement.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that movement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it's good. All right. The next item is the chairman's report. I don't have a report. So moving on to the chief's report.
Okay, so just real briefly on the radio system, we've been in communication with Marcus Communications, and we are anticipating implementation to begin in the springtime. So that's a little bit sooner than we had expected when we were having discussions about 2 months ago, because there was some delay in production of things. So we're hoping for this spring, and that it won't take very long to get that up and running. As far as personnel, Sean Crowley joined us on January 2nd as our newest police officer. He's in the field training and evaluation program right now, and he'll be there for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Several members since our last meeting have been affected in some manner by COVID-19. We had a couple positive diagnoses of the virus, and then others that required isolation because they were around a known exposure. So almost all of the members have returned to work. All of them have recovered, and one is, hopefully will be back in a week. And there's some sort of long-term or longer-term, I should say, side effects. And that employee is doing well, but like I said, is expected to be back maybe in a week or so. We are doing interviews for the officer vacancies and dispatch vacancies. And we have one person right now who is further along in the selection process for police applicant than others. And we're still, like I said, scheduling interviews for both. And hopefully we'll have some coming up in the next week or so. I will hopefully have a candidate to present to the commission at the next meeting. We are currently doing a boot and coat drive, and it's been very successful. It's been happening now for a week to a week and a half, and we'll continue that through mid-January. Anybody can drop off any good conditioned boots or coats, and we've even accepted some hats and some gloves and mittens. You can drop those off as you first walk into the police department. There's a decorated box there, and then we'll relocate those items inside and then package them up. We have several different resources to distribute those throughout the region. And that's all I have for the chief's report.
The consolidated monthly, oh, go ahead.
I have a question, if I may. On the officer you're going to recommend, or the person who's in the process now, chief, is this a certified officer? Is this someone that we're going to have to put through the academy too?
This is a certified officer, and I would say that we are probably 85 to 90% through the selection process. But the officer is currently certified.
Good, okay. That's important. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The consolidated monthly report, have you all had a chance to look at that? Any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Nor do I.
In light of the newspaper report, I think it was this morning, and maybe it was, I can't remember, sometime in the last day or two, about traffic stops in the state of Connecticut and the drastic drop in traffic stops over the past 12 months. I didn't have a chance to get into this report that deeply this afternoon, but what are we feeling, Chief, along that regard? Are we maintaining about the same level we were last year, or have we fallen off as well?
We have decreased as well. So looking at November of 2019 compared to November of 2020, roughly a 30% decrease in traffic stops. For the month of December, compared to 19 compared to 20, about a 38% drop. So overall, we have dropped significantly. And if the commission recalls, like in March and April of 2020, when sort of the beginning of the pandemic for us, we went down to almost no traffic stops. There were very few traffic stops. And then, by June, July, August, we started to see a slight increase. And now we're up to about 30% less than we were month to month from year to year. So, in discussions with the officers, it seems like the, primary concerns are, shared throughout the state. Some things that we have heard. But we are addressing those, trying to encourage more ways to do traffic enforcement and compliance and education.
Are accidents up, or are
accidents are down?
Okay, of course, traffic was down considerably too, I guess, for several months.
Yes.
Yep. Did we hit the I hate to say the target, did we hit the threatened number of 38 in terms of car thefts during the year? How high did we get there?
You know what? If you give me a minute, I'll look at it. But I believe we are steady at around 32 or 33.
Okay. So that trend also is down, I guess. It hasn't gone up as much as we thought perhaps it might. You're smiling.
Yeah, I'm looking for some wood to knock on. I think we have to be extremely vigilant in locking our cars and not making things accessible for people. I would say that the cold has a slight decrease in attracting that type of criminal activity, but last year we saw a big rise toward the end of the year. Fortunately, this year we did not. So that's a good thing. But we still have had some recent activities, but just no cars that were stolen.
Tanisha, just as being a new board member here, the car thefts in 19 were, Chief, I think there were 17 or 19 or so, and then and we're now talking in the 30s. So in 2020, we had a car theft spike, and it was statewide, but we were not exempt from it here in Simsbury. So thus the discussion.
Yeah, we started off with an average in 2015 or 16 with 5 to 7 cars, and then over the last 3 to 5 years, a drastic jump, and not just us, but regionally, statewide, even New England, in New York as well. Just a drastic increase.
Well, good news is pointed out there, Chief.
It's funny that you said that, because Glastonbury asked me over the weekend when I was on a call whether or not if we had some kind of campaign or something going on out here in Simsbury around motor vehicle thefts. And I said, well, all the chatter that I've seen on Facebook pretty much is that the chief has been saying pretty much don't keep things in plain view for thieves to be able to be tempted to break into your cars or to steal your cars. And then to the others that on Facebook who said the person who left their car open should be charged for having the police to come out to do something that they should know better than to lock their stuff up. So, it is that everyone is being impacted by
Definitely.
this. So,
Lock your doors.
Your key in the house.
There you go. In the preliminary monthly report, we kind of briefly touched on that, but any questions or concerns about that as well?
No.
No, nothing from me.
I didn't see anything that caught my eye. All right, then we'll move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business?
And I know he's on the line here and he's in the building, but how's the deputy chief working out?
Fantastic.
Good. All right.
I concur.
Everything I've heard is that way too. Yeah. Good. Okay.
So Jenna, this isn't new business, but Mike brings up a point here, and I just for educational purposes. So we're talking about, hey, if the facilities are inadequate today, and we know that in 5 to 10 years we're going to need some either a new building or we're going to need some remedy. At what point does the board discuss with you, Chief, and your staff the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, and start strategizing what that might look like for the town?
Well, I think there is a master's facilities plan that the town has undertaken right now. I don't know the expected time when that report will come out. They did come through here. They did have discussions with us. They did check out the site, and they were aware of some of our concerns. So I think as a formal document going forward, that is there. I think we need to expand on that and be very specific also on that too, because Mr. Long brought up some very good points that may not have been brought up in that meeting because it wasn't for the purposes of looking at every little aspect, looking at the auxiliary garages that we have, that they're not adequate size and that people have to gain access to those if we have property stored in there for mechanical reasons for the building. There's switches in there to run generators and things like that. So, and then looking down the line at the future of the department, the number of personnel that we have. So I think we have to start that conversation. I know there have been sort of side conversations about it, but I think that, looking at what we can possibly do here in the next couple of weeks to get us through for a little bit, will then generate some ideas and something a little bit more formal that I can bring to the commission.
And then, sorry to go down a rabbit hole here, but so is that on the zoning commission or on the town to, let's say we needed new facilities and we wanted to go down that road. Is it on them to place it in the budget to do a survey and that sort of thing? Or do we need to start thinking about placeholders for 23 for new facilities, just as an example?
Good question.
Is that part of our capital request, like a whole new building?
I think it's going to take a larger study or a larger look at that before we jump to, asking for a new building. I think that, is definitely what's going to be in store at some point. There's a lot of needs. There's a lot of things that we should do to plan, but I think that it's too soon to jump to that right now. I don't know if if we want to look at a study. I don't know if that's even necessary.
Will the master's facility plan get back to you? Are you going to hear what they have determined after they surveyed the space that we currently have?
Yeah, I don't know when they're getting back to the town on that. I don't know when the due date is on that, but it was a town-wide facilities plan or study that they did do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps once we get that back, we can see what they're thinking, and then based on that, go from there?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good starting point unless that's expected to be, months and months out.
Okay.
I think,
I think in the meantime, excuse me, Mike, it
yeah,
might be worthwhile to task your sergeants to just start writing down all of the limitations they're currently experiencing right now. And even the patrol officers, whether it's locker space, it's meeting space, it's computer space, whatever the case may be, just start a list, a wish list type thing that we can gather, that they can gather, and we're ready at some point in the future to say these are the real hard requirements or the big things that are not meeting standard, and these are the things we'd like to have. And I think that's going to take months to develop that, and I think we have the same timing with the master facilities plan. I'm sure that will be months.
I have a question. Have you guys ever thought of or consider like a substation type of model, like how they do in Hartford?
We did have one, probably 2002 to maybe 2004 or so, at the Simsbury Commons. And it was, it worked out nicely when there was a lot of activity down there. The mall had been redesigned a few years before that, and we had seen a drastic increase in just congregation and people hanging out that ended up leading to a lot of criminal mischief, a lot of complaints. We were down there quite often, so it was nice to have a little bit of a satellite office down there, but it didn't work out great. It was shared space with the property owner. And I think the type of things that we need for space, we like to keep somewhat of a more centralized operation. But there's things like, adequate parking, things that we can have designed so we will prevent some accidental damage to property. Trying to get into our Sallyport, our main garage, is a challenge. It's a very narrow drive going in. So there's lots of things like that a substation may not help us with, but would help if we had an area of town that required much more service than right here in the central part of town.
and I think Terry's right. The sooner we have a little buzz going, the better off I think we'll be, because it's going to take time, and it could be a number of years of budget cycles, and so I don't, it would be good to be a little bit ahead of that if we can, without causing too many ripples. Because I hate to get in the position where I have found in the last few years I have felt badly about our situation, because I think we've been playing catch up, and I think we're still playing catch up, and we have a chance this year to maybe pull even with where we ought to be in a lot of things. But I'd hate to have to go through that cycle again in terms of space. And so I think Terry's absolutely right. We can begin, thinking now and let others know that we're thinking now. Then it won't be a big surprise like, oh gosh, well, we'll put that off to, the year after next, sort of thing. Let's make it the year after next instead of starting then, if you know what I mean. I don't know. It's I just share that feeling. I don't want us to get behind. I don't want us to be feeling inadequate with what we have. And so I think this meeting tonight is very important for that. The meeting we're going to have with the selectmen. So I think I don't know if we want to go back and we adjourn here and go over that again and how we're going to present it. But I think it's a real meeting for us to really get that word out. And they're not going to want to spend all night doing it, so we're going to have to move through it. But we got to get our points out, and so if they go home tonight knowing that if we're close to getting to where we want to be, but we're not there yet. And oh, by the way, that's not just the end. And the whole thing driving us now is population. And if that continues to grow, then the need's going to continue to grow. So it's not a difficult concept. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to monopolize that.
No, that's good insight. And I think Terry's on the right track where we should start keeping a list of the things that are inadequate now. And that way, when it's time, we will have a comprehensive list of what we need. And whether that's a 5-year capital plan or whatnot, we can get to that point once we know where we're at and what we need.
And training is going to drive a lot of it too, I think, Nick, because we are obviously, that's a big need, and it's on our list tonight, and it's going to become more so in the next few years, and we need to have the space and ability to do that. We can't just do it out in the hallway somewhere, and so it's important.
Yep, certainly is.
Okay.
Do we have anybody who's kind of listening in on the selectmen meeting to see where they are on their agenda?
I keep looking at it. They're still going. I just don't know where they are.
Okay. All right. I'll send a little note to the deputy town manager, see if she has an idea. But meanwhile, Jenna, I think.
Well, do we have any other new business or any business? If not,
do we want to review any more what we're going to do at the selectmen meeting? I know we started it. We talked about renovation a bit, but staffing is the number one critical item, and training is the number 2 item. I know Nick's got it down; he's ready to go. But if we're all comfortable, with what we've read and what we've heard, then fine. I think we can be at ease here for 15 or 20 minutes. I know they were shooting for 7:30 to start, but if they could start earlier, that wouldn't be bad either.
I'm ready to go for that meeting. All right. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn for tonight.
Terry will make that motion.
Second?
Before we have a vote on it, let's remind everybody we have another meeting on the 25th, 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
Special meeting.
That's for the collective bargaining?
Right on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So we do have a meeting on the 25th for collective bargaining. And any questions?
Have we seen the calendar invite on that one? Not yet.
Sorry, what?
Just the calendar invite on that one, or the Zoom call, not yet, right?
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a second for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then at 7:11 p.m., we adjourn for this evening.
This meeting.
This meeting.
That's it.
Well, it looks like they're at the. I can't quite find it on the announcement, but they're addressing something with EBAD.
Oh yeah, they want to have a tax abatement.
Okay, all right. So they're in the last item then of the selectmen action, and then they have to get to a few other appointments, unless they did that, Tanisha, while you were there. I don't know if they did other appointments or just yours. Just yours. Okay. And then they have to review minutes, and then there's subcommittee reports. So they may be a little bit, but I was told we're more than welcome to sign on and listen in. They're aware that we're done.
They are.
Yep.
You send up a pigeon?
Raven.
Okay. Travis, you'd be interested in that item that the chief just mentioned. The Ensign Bickford Aerospace Company has put in for a tax abatement because they're having a significant expansion down the road. They're turning a good deal of what was years ago manufacturing space for textile type activities into office space because they're hiring over 200 people and they're shooting for 200 people all in the $100,000 plus range type pay category.